Hello, everyone. It is so wonderful to see all of you guys today. My name is Ariel, and I thought today I could share with you some of my favorite stories and my favorite song. I would like to thank the Warren Newport Public Library and the Friends of the Library for inviting me to read to all of you guys today. I heard you guys have been spending lots of time indoors lately, so I hope you've been learning how to read very well. If not, that's okay too. We can always have our grown-ups read to us or our friends. Since I'm going to be reading some stories for you guys today, I will be asking you some questions along the way to see how much you remember. I'm sure you'll know my first story, but my second story might be a brand new one for all of you guys today. My first story is called The Little Mermaid, and it's all about me and how I found my prince. Do you guys think you've heard of this one before? I bet you'll know some of my friends' names too, won't you? Throughout the story, when I ask you questions, make sure to shout them out as loud as you can. Hopefully I can hear them all the way back here in Atlantica. King Triton, the great sea king, had many daughters who loved the undersea world. But Triton's youngest daughter, that's me, dreamed of the world above the water's surface, the world of humans just like you guys. Me and my friend Flounder liked to go to the surface to visit Scuttle the seagull. Scuttle told us all about the human objects that I found at the bottom of the sea. One day, my father learned about my trips to the surface, and he grew very angry. He asked his friend Sebastian the crab to keep an eye on me. So on this page, we mention Flounder, Scuttle, and Sebastian. So you guys think you know who they are? What's this guy right here? What's his name? Flounder, that's right. And what about this guy right here? Scuttle the seagull. And he's holding my dingle hopper. He told me that you humans use it to brush your hair. A few days later, I noticed a ship sailing way up on the surface of the water. I quickly swam toward it. Ariel, please come back, cried Sebastian as he and Flounder swam after me. When I surfaced, I saw a huge ship filled with sailors. My eyes lit up when I spotted the sailor the others called Prince Eric. It was love at first sight. Suddenly, the sky darkened. Heavy rain began to fall and lightning split the sky. The ship was tossed on the waves, and the prince was thrown overboard. So do you know everybody on this page? What's this guy's name right here? His name is Sebastian, that's right, and he's a crab. And what's my prince's name again? Prince Eric. And then this is his dog. His dog's name is Max. I've got to save him, I thought. I grabbed the drowning prince and swam to shore, pulling him onto the beach. Prince Eric did not stir as I gently touched his face and sang him a love song. Soon I heard the prince's crew searching for him. I did not want to be seen by the humans, so I kissed the prince and dove back into the sea. Prince Eric awoke to find Sir Grimsby, his loyal steward, at his side. Sir Grimsby was happy that Eric was alive. A girl rescued me, he said. She was singing. She had the most beautiful voice. Prince Eric, too, had fallen in love. But he didn't know I was a mermaid, did he? I had to dive back into the sea because mermaids are not supposed to be seen by humans. King Triton was furious when he discovered that I had fallen in love with a human. He rushed to the grotto where I kept my collection of human treasures. Contact between the human world and the mer world are strictly forbidden, Triton shouted. He raised his magic trident and fired bolts of energy around the cave, destroying my treasures. Then he left. I buried my face in my hands and began to cry. This is why we always have to listen to our grown-ups, isn't it? Meanwhile, not far away, evil forces were at work in the Undersea Kingdom. Does anybody know who this is? Ursula, right? And does anybody know what kind of animal Ursula is? She's called an octopus. And do you know how many tentacles octopus have? They have 8 tentacles. Ursula the sea witch, who had tried once before to overthrow my father, was looking for a way to take over. Through her crystal ball, she could see me crying, and an idea came to her. Ursula sent her slimy eel servants Flotsam and Jetsam to my grotto. There, they convinced me that Ursula could help me get my beloved prince. I was so upset that I ignored Sebastian's warnings, and I swam off with Flotsam and Jetsam to meet the sea witch. I should have listened to Sebastian, shouldn't I? But I was just so upset. My dear, said the witch, here's the deal. I will make you a potion that will turn you into a human for 3 days. Before the sun sets on the 3rd day, you have to get dear old Princey to kiss you. If he kisses you, you'll remain human forever. But if not, you will turn back into a mermaid and you belong to me. In return for the potion, the witch wanted something. Do you remember what she wanted from me? My voice. But without my voice, how can I? You'll still have your looks, your pretty face, replied Ursula. So if I gave Ursula my voice, that means that she could turn me into a human. After I agreed to Ursula's deal, an amazing change took place. My voice flew from my body and was captured in a seashell around Ursula's neck. I lost my tail, grew legs, and became human. When I went in search of the prince, I was helped ashore by my friends. I tried to speak to them, but no sound came out. A short while later, I saw Prince Eric. The prince had been lovesick ever since hearing me sing. At first, he thought I was the girl who had rescued him. But when he learned that I couldn't speak, he thought he was wrong. Prince Eric felt sorry for me. I needed a place to stay, so he took me back to his palace. That was very kind of him, wasn't it? Over the next 2 days, Prince Eric grew to like me more and more. During a romantic boat ride, Eric was about to kiss me when Flotsam and Jetsam overturned the boat. That was a close one. Too close, said Ursula, who was watching in her crystal ball. It's time Ursula took matters into her own tentacles. The sea witch mixed a magic potion and changed herself into a beautiful young maiden. On the morning of the 3rd day, there was great excitement throughout the kingdom. Prince Eric was going to marry a young maiden he had just met. Ursula, disguised as the maiden, had used my voice to trick Eric. He now thought that she was the girl who had saved him from the shipwreck. I was so heartbroken. She used my voice to cast a spell on him. That wasn't very nice. The wedding ceremony was to take place on Prince Eric's new boat. Scuttle flew by just as the bride passed in front of the mirror. Her reflection was... Who did her reflection show? Ursula, that's right. Scuttle rushed off to tell me and the rest of my friends. Sebastian quickly formed a plan. Flounder helped me get to Prince Eric's ship. Scuttle arranged for some of his seagull friends to delay the wedding, and Sebastian hurried to find my father. Prince Eric and the maiden were about to be married when a flock of seagulls led by Scuttle swooped down on the bride. She screamed in the sea witch's voice. Scuttle knocked the seashell containing my voice from around the maiden's neck. The shell shattered, and my voice returned to me. It was you all the time, said Prince Eric. Oh, Eric, I wanted to tell you, I said. The sun disappeared over the horizon just as we were about to kiss. My 3 days were up. I changed back into a mermaid. Ursula grabbed me and dove off the ship. Thanks to Sebastian's warning, Triton was waiting for us at Ursula's lair. I might be willing to make an exchange for someone better, said Ursula. Triton agreed, and he became Ursula's prisoner. She now had his magic trident and the control of the undersea kingdom. All of a sudden, a harpoon struck Ursula in the shoulder. Prince Eric had come to my rescue. Together, we swam to the surface. Do you remember what happens next? Ursula followed close behind us, and she grew bigger and bigger with anger until she rose up out of the water. Prince Eric swam to his ship and climbed on board. He grabbed the wheel and turned the ship toward Ursula. Just as the sea witch was about to fire a deadly bolt at me from the trident, the prince's ship slammed into Ursula, and she was destroyed. Now that the witch was gone, Triton was freed. He rose from the sea and saw me watching Prince Eric, who was lying on the shore unconscious. She really does love him, doesn't she? Asked the Sea King. Sebastian, who was nearby, nodded. I'm going to miss her, Triton added. Then he raised his trident and shot a magical bolt at my tail. And you remember what that did? My tail disappeared, and once again I had legs. I was now a human. Prince Eric awoke in time to see me running onto the shore. He kissed me, and we were married that day. After the wedding, Prince Eric and I sailed off on our honeymoon to live happily ever after. That's the end of my first story. Did you guys remember it very well? Oh, I hope you enjoyed that one a lot. So now we have a second story that we're going to read, and I think this one might be a brand new one for you guys. But I'll still ask some questions to see if any of you guys remember what happens. But this one is one of my favorites because I got to experience this one with Prince Eric. This is called Ariel's Nightlights. I loved living on land. For so long, I had watched the human world from a distance, but now I actually got to learn about it up close. One evening, Prince Eric and I decided to eat dessert on our balcony. To Eric, it was a normal, peaceful night, but for me, nighttime on land was full of fascinating new sights. Nighttime is so different here than it is under the sea, I said. What do you mean? Eric asked. Beneath the waves, the only lights we have are glowing jellyfish and the little bit of moonlight that seeps down from the surface. But here on land, you have fire that you can use to light up the night. If you put fire under the water, it burns out. So that's why I never heard of it before. Eric smiled at me. Fire isn't the only thing on land that lights the night. I know something else I think you'll love. Eric put out the torches, leaving the balcony in darkness, but not total darkness. My eyes widened as I spotted a bunch of small, bright sparks zipping through the air around us. With the torches lit, I hadn't been able to see them. What are they? They're a lot smaller than the jellyfish we have under the sea. Prince Eric chuckled. They're called fireflies, he said. He caught one and then opened his hand so that I can look at it. See? Their bodies light up. They're kind of like little jellyfish, aren't they? I carefully reached for the firefly, gasping in delight as it lit up again. The firefly flew out of Eric's hand. Soon it was lost among dozens of its friends. They're lovely. They move through the air as easily as fish in the water. Does everything here remind you of fish? Eric teased. Not everything. Actually, these fireflies remind me much more of something else. I pointed upward. Countless tiny points of light twinkled far overhead. The stars? Eric guessed. Yes, fireflies look as they could be tiny stars that have come to live on land, just like I did. Eric raised his eyebrows. I never thought of it that way. It's too bad there's so much light coming from the palace. It makes it hard to see all the stars. What do you mean? Eric said. There are plenty of stars out tonight. Not as many as I could see when I used to sneak up to the surface, I said. I suppose it's easier to see them out there because it's so much darker. I suppose you're right, Eric agreed. Even if I put out every torch in the palace, there would still be light coming from the village and the farms nearby. Then let's go where there are no villages and no farms, I said. Can we, please? I want to see the stars, all of them. Eric looked surprised, but he nodded. I'll summon a carriage. Soon the carriage arrived. Eric and I climbed on board and rode out through the palace gates. Our carriage traveled through the village and along a windy path up into the rolling countryside. We passed several farms with animals sleeping in the fields. The farther we traveled from the lights of the village, the darker the world around us grew. Finally, the carriage came to a stop at the top of a largest hill. Hopping out of the carriage, Ariel looked around. Far, far below, I could just make out the faint glow of the palace on the horizon. A few lights shone in the houses in the village, but their light didn't reach that far up into the hills. I turned slowly in circles, looking up at the night sky. It seemed there were even more stars to see here than when I had looked in the sky from the ocean. Oh, Eric, this is perfect. Have any of you guys ever looked at the night stars before? Eric and I walked through the soft grass. Eric laid out a blanket. I sat down, turning my eyes toward the sky. Look, now we can see all the stars. Eric lay back, crossing his arms behind his head and taking in the view of the night sky. You were right, Ariel. I've never seen so many stars. There are too many to count. I gazed upward. It's nice to be able to look at the stars. When I lived under the sea, I wasn't supposed to visit the surface, so I never really got to study the sky. Doesn't that group of stars over there look like a ship? It does, Eric said. And those stars could be a dog. And over there, I think I can see a trident, like the one your father carries. I pointed at another set of stars. Those look like my friend Sebastian. Eric and I laughed as we pointed out different shapes in the sky. Suddenly, one of the stars seemed to fall from the sky. Did you see that? That bright star there, it's moving. Look, there's another one. Those aren't stars, Eric told me. It must be a meteor shower. It looked so beautiful. I watched the falling meteors. They're beautiful. I guessed I was right after all. Eric looked at me. You were right about what? I smiled as the twinkling stars reflected in my eyes. The stars really do want to come down to land. That's the end of my second story. Oh, I hope you guys loved both of them so much. Now, before I go, there's one more thing that I have to do, and that is to sing my favorite song. It's called Part of Your World. You know, when I used to live under the sea, I used to collect all of my human treasures in a special grotto. That was in my first story. And I used to sing about all my human treasures and how I wished I could go up to the surface. If you guys remember any parts of this song, make sure to sing it along with me. If not, that's okay too. You can always dance or pretend like you're swimming. I love doing that as well. Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete? Wouldn't you think I'm the girl who has everything? Look at this trove, treasures untold. How many wonders can one cavern hold? Looking around here you'd think, sure, she's got everything. I've got gadgets and gizmos aplenty. I got who's its and what's its galore. You want thingamabobs? I've got 20. But who cares? No big deal. I want more. I want to be where the people are. I want to see dancing, walking around on those, what do you call them? Feet. Flipping your fin, you don't get too far. Legs are required for jumping, dancing, strolling along down the, what's that word again? Street. Up where they walk, up where they run, up where they stay all day in the sun, wandering free. Wish I could be part of that world. What would I give if I could live out of these waters? What would I pay to spend a day warm on the sand? Betcha on land they understand that they don't reprimand their daughters, bright young women, sick of swimming, ready to stand, and ready to know what the people know. Asking my questions and get some answers. What's a fire and why does it, what's the word? Burn. When's it my turn? Wouldn't I love to explore that shore up above? Out of the sea. Wish I could be part of that world. Oh, thank you guys all so much for spending time with me today. I had so much fun reading my stories and singing you my favorite song. Now I hope to see you all very soon. Remember to keep reading, always listen to your grown-ups, and be kind to everyone. Hugs and fishes! Goodbye!